Hey, how's everyone doing? I'm great. Thanks for asking. So I'm Dane Jennings. I'm the founder and CEO of Catapult. Catapult Games, you can also call us Catapult. And yeah, I'm here to tell you about my story, what we've been doing with virtual reality at my studio, and how we went from, making games to exploring other uses for VR. So before I get started, can I get a show of hands? Who here has put on a VR headset, experience VR? Amazing. That makes my job a lot easier. Great. So I started the company right after graduating with my undergrad in 2017, and I was at a bit of a crossroads with my career, trying to figure out what I was going to do, and then I had a chance to try VR. This was right when the Oculus Rift came out, HTC Vive, PSVR. So I got to try it out, and it blew my mind because I've been playing video games my whole life, and suddenly I put on the VR headset, and I'm the main character of the video game. I can move my hands, I can move my head. The sense of presence of being inside of the game was just incredible, and and we had some ideas. We were looking at the games that were out there, and we found that climbing, of all the locomotion mechanics, just felt the best. You could press a joystick forward to walk forward, or you could teleport. But then when you were climbing in VR, there was a one-to-one, right? So you move your hands, and you feel the camera move up with you. And it really felt like you're actually climbing up a mountain. You look down, and you get this, pit in your stomach. And it was the most realistic, immersive motion. But we were looking at the games that were out there, and it was all just climb from point A to point B. So that's when we had the idea, let's make a real platforming game in VR. Let's make something that has enemies, power-ups, bonus rooms, a real game beyond just traversal. So we jumped right in and started working on Don't Look Down. So this was our first game. It was the original VR climbing platformer. So we were the first VR game to use climbing as the locomotion that was technically a platforming game. And we actually have one of our team members in the house, Kalel. He was the art director for the team. So those cute robots that you got to destroy, he helped design those, among other things. So so Don't Look Down was a lot of fun. We worked on it for about 2 years, and we just basically threw in as many features as we could. There were crumbling handholds and swinging ropes. There was rising lava in a level that you had to run from. We built 32 levels in 4 unique zones. And you're fighting these robots, doing all these timing challenges. And it was a blast. But we ended up not becoming insanely wealthy from this amazing game because we spent all of our money on development and didn't spend any money on marketing. So there's a valuable lesson for everyone. You can build an awesome game, and if no one knows about it, then it really doesn't matter. But we did sell it to some people. We did get some really good reviews on it, mostly positive reviews. Sort of an indie hidden gem. But we decided to pivot the company and see, what else was VR being used for. And I was looking around, and beyond entertainment, people are using virtual reality for medical applications. I saw studies that surgeons that were trained in VR were seeing better results for specialized surgeries than the typical training. And we started taking on, like I said, some contract work in different industries as a way to, try out some different things, make some money as we were figuring out what we wanted to do. We made a virtual reality therapy application for people with chronic pain, and 9 out of 10 people felt less pain in our app. We teamed up with some disability support organizations, and we made an app that connects people with job opportunities that they qualify for. And we made a version of Don't Look Down with therapy settings for people with disabilities. So this was a really cool couple years where we were just exploring, trying out, building out different things for different platforms across industries. But then in 2020, everything changed. So after George Floyd was murdered, it was hard to watch, and I'm sure for everyone here, you can agree it was difficult, and it was something that really resonated with me because I was actually tased by police when I was 18. Just trying to have a police conversation with a police officer, and there was no one around, and he brutally assaulted me. So, watching this happen, watching, the cold-blooded murder of someone, I just had this sense that I wanted to do something to help. And with the experience that I had with VR and seeing how it could be used to help people and how it could be used for training, I was just thinking about it and studying the problem, and I had an idea that VR should be used for de-escalation training. So another show of hands, who here has heard of de-escalation? Amazing. I love you guys. This is great. So de-escalation, sorry, this mic is kind of far from me. De-escalation is the reduction of intensity of a conflict by verbal skills, body language, tone of voice. It's when you interact with someone and your goal is to walk away where you're safe, they're safe. There's minimal suffering, minimal harm. So I was looking at the problem space, and it's a big problem. The U.S. has the most police-involved shootings of any developed country, and trust in police is extremely low. It's also expensive, and taxpayers end up paying the cost when there's lawsuits, and billions of dollars are spent on this every year. So lots of lives are lost, people are injured and killed, and I think a lot of it is avoidable. I was studying the training that police officers go through, and this study, pretty comprehensive study around the country, showed that there was about 10 times as much firearms training as there was any sort of verbal training. So it goes a lot deeper than training, but I think if we can improve the training, focus on verbal training, focus on de-escalation training, and do it well, I think that can be part of the solution. So that's where VRPD started. Virtual reality police de-escalation. It's a virtual reality training that is entirely about de-escalation. And when police officers and civilians practice de-escalation, we're going to see better results. We're going to see less injuries, less deaths, less lawsuits. So the training itself, the trainee would put on the VR headset. We're using the Meta Quest wireless headset. And then the operator is controlling the responses of the subject from a laptop. So it's not a, choose your own adventure, click choice A or choice B, which some of the other people out there were doing. It's actually talking to the person. You put on the headset, you're in this virtual world, full sense of presence, and there's a man with a knife in front of you. And you've got your whole police duty belt. You've got your gun, you've got your taser. And a lot of people, I brought it to a conference, and this is sort of hard to say, but I was showing it to a police chief, and he just yelled at the guy, "Set the knife down! Set the knife down!" He said it like 5 times, and then he tased the guy. And that's I think what some of the training was for a long time. And that's what we're trying to shift is people have mental and emotional problems sometimes, and if someone's holding a knife, maybe there's a way to talk them down. If everyone is safe, if there's no one's in immediate danger, I think that de-escalation should be the first line of defense before force is used. There's other VR de-escalation out there, but really what we're doing different is that we've been involving the community from the ground up. So we've held 6 community conversations where we demo the software and we get input from community members that come out. Everyone gets to try it out if they want to. I just sit in the back and take notes the whole time, get everyone's feedback. We have professional moderators. It's a safe space to disagree and share your opinions, share your thoughts, and sometimes people disagree, and that's fine. There's some really difficult topics that we're getting into, but I think the process is what's most important with something like this, because if you continue to build by police, for police, without involving the community, nothing's going to change. It's just going to be the same cycles over and over. And I think something like de-escalation, where police and community are involved, how can we have an effective solution if you don't bring all the shareholders to the table? So that's been, I think, the key to what we're doing, is involving the community deeply in the process. So to kind of sum this up, VRPD trains police officers and civilians efficiently and effectively in de-escalation. We believe that this training will make police officers be better equipped to peacefully resolve conflict, which is the goal. And we want to see less deaths, less injuries from police-community interaction. So after holding 6 community conversations, demoing for community, demoing for police, I'm based in Schenectady, and I've been working with the police chief there, and I got a call that we had some state funding lined up, and Schenectady Police Department is going to pilot the program for 2 years. So thank you. But this is just the start. We're working with Schenectady. We're going to get this in their hands and work on de-escalation with them. But I also want to get it around the capital region. I want to get it around the state. I want not only police officers, but I want everyone to understand what de-escalation is, because every time you interact with someone, the way that you talk to them, the way that you treat them, it can help ensure that both people walk away safely. It's a dangerous world out there. Tensions are high, and I think we should all, if we care about human life, learn the skill sets that we need to be able to keep ourselves and other people safe. So that's the goal. This is just the start, and I would love to have you all get involved. The first thing you can do is, if you want to follow what we're doing, you can see what we're doing on social media. I'm mainly active on LinkedIn. I don't know what that says about me, but you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can follow our company page, and you can also follow our Instagram, X, and Meta at Catapult Games VR. And this is one of my favorite pictures. This is a picture from one of our community conversations, where you can just see all the different people that came out to just have a conversation, talk about de-escalation, and work on the solution together. So I'll close with a quote from the Schenectady Police Chief. "I'm excited to team up with Catapult Games to help test and refine their VR training application. By focusing on de-escalation, VRPD can significantly improve modern police training, leading to more peaceful resolutions of conflict." And you've got my email there and our website if you want to check it out. So I would love to take any questions or comments or anything that you guys have.
So will this emulation be available for the public when it's all finished?
Currently, the plan is to, work with organizations directly and make specialized training modules for them. But part of the long-term vision is getting it into more people's hands, but not in the near future. But that's something we're thinking about. Yes.
So you work directly with the police chief. Have you been working with any unions around the state?
Not as of yet.
Okay. And then also, sorry, do you know where your funding came from? Is it from like what area it came from the state?
It came from Assemblyman Angelo Santa Barbara. Yeah. You're welcome.
Can you just repeat the questions because we can't hear them all?
Oh, yeah, okay. So the first question was, do I have plans to make this available to the public? And I said not in the near future, but that's something we're thinking about. The second question was, where did the state funding come from? And I said it came from Assemblyman Santa Barbara. Yes?
So first of all, kudos to you for seeing a problem and filling it in a creative way. When you're done working with the police department, you may want to, when you're not busy, look at expanding into the school systems. The TCI, the Therapeutic Crisis Intervention, is currently the best option for educators for how to de-escalate before having to go into restraints with children. And we all, as educators, want to avoid restraints every which way.
Absolutely.
And I think this would give a more active role-playing scenario that would be more realistic for teachers to be able to go through in the future.
Thank you. I think you probably all heard that. That was great. So just to speak to that a little bit, we're starting with police de-escalation because I think that's one of the most impactful spaces to practice de-escalation. But the underlying product that we've built can easily be let's say reskinned for other scenarios, other settings. So it's something that we could use to teach de-escalation in schools, in businesses, for other first responders. So that's again, I have a small team, limited resources, but ideally I do want to work with as many organizations and people as possible. Yes.
I was wondering over the course of those 2 years if there's going to be some sort of research into this training improved or outcomes by some percent. Will there be any research tied to what you're doing right now?
Yes, that's a great question. So this is also something so the question was, what is while the training is being implemented and while they're using the training, how are we going to track the success of it? What sort of research are we going to do? So part of that is going to be looking at metrics of injuries, both officer and civilian injuries, uses of force, lawsuits, complaints. That's going to be a big part of it. There's also going to be surveys for police and community members on the training, and to get the qualitative as well as the quantitative results. This is all stuff that we can track, and that's I think how we're going to show that it's effective. So that's a great question. Yes.
Sorry, I don't know if I missed it, but I know with the VR it's more of a visual thing. How does the player, or if I call it a player, interact with the world itself? You mentioned voice and maybe a belt. I know with VR usually, depending on the set, you have controllers and that kind of thing. I don't know if it's like a Wii U joystick kind of scenario or what. Yeah,
so the question is, is how are you interacting with the simulation? So you're wearing the Meta Quest, the wireless headset. You also have the motion-tracked hand controllers. So you can move your hands around in VR and see them. You can grab any of the items on your police duty belt. The goal is to not use those if you don't have to. But primarily what you're doing is verbal de-escalation. So actually talking, actually talking to the subjects on the scene and the bystanders, and then having real-time responses as the trainer is listening to what you're saying and controlling the simulation.
Okay, so someone's like dungeon mastering the scenario?
Yeah, there's a DM behind the scenes.
So I have a technical question. So when you went from traditional gaming to VR, how did you control motion sickness? Did you have to develop techniques and special software methods in order to keep people from feeling ill during the simulations, or is that something that wasn't so necessary for the type of environment you were building?
Yeah, that's actually, so the question is, how do we address motion sickness in VR? And that's actually one of the reasons we went with a climbing game initially, is we found that when what your body is doing matches what your brain thinks you're doing, you don't get that ocular vestibular mismatch, like the mismatch between your ears and your eyes. So with climbing, there's the one-to-one. So I grab a handhold and I pull it down, and I feel the camera move up a corresponding amount. So it doesn't make me sick. But then if I were to get into, put on a VR headset and it's a racing simulator and I'm just sitting completely still, and then, the car is swerving back and forth, I'd probably feel sick to my stomach because what my body is doing is not matching what I'm seeing in the headset. So I think making that as realistic and one-to-one as possible is a good way to control for that. Is that good? All right, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you all so much for coming out and listening to my story. And please reach out if you have any more questions or if you want to get involved. Thank you.